So we are here today just to explain the main benefits of humic acids and how they actually behave in the soil. I will also cover some parts in relation to optimized animal husbandry. So my name is Ivana. I'm the managing director of Humic Supplements. We are pretty much an official importer and exclusive distributor of Humic, basically humic acid-based products. We produce humic acids in a mechanical way, which are free from chemicals, additives, or any fillers. And I'm gonna share my presentation with you now. Just give me a second. Okay, so let me know if you all can see this. Yeah?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, perfect. So as I said, my name is Ivana. I manage Ireland, Northern Ireland, and soon, hopefully, we'll be able to open UK. So I will cover basic information in relation to humic acids, and so we offer solutions for healthy soil and also for optimized animal husbandry. So our main aim is to reduce chemicals in the soil and also promote antibiotic-free farming. So that's our agenda for today. So I will do a short introduction for Humic supplements. Just to let you know, it's not just Humic supplements here in Ireland, but it's the entire Humic group that we have. So it's a combination of our production and science and different research institutions that we cooperate with, including our veterinary institutions, agronomy institutions, and a whole group of people who are basically part of humic acid-based, I can't really say academies, but they are basically people who do a lot of research and always try to find different properties of humic acid. And basically, there is still an ongoing research behind the scenes. So in the second part, I will cover humic acids in a nutshell. So I have prepared I would say a visual explanation for you guys to really understand the mechanics of humic acids and how they behave. In the third part, I will explain humic acids and their benefits for soil. In the fourth part, I will cover benefits for animals, and then we will have some time for question and answers. So, as I mentioned, our mission is and the main aim that why Humic exists is the revitalization of the food chain, toxin-free production, and an improvement of the environment. So we pretty much offer farmers and breeders a chance to achieve efficient and environmentally friendly crop or livestock production and to adapt to ever-growing demand for natural and organic products. So less toxins in soils means healthier animals and eventually healthy humans. So these are the three areas that we focus on, but we always have to start with the soil, which is a very important element. Okay. So if we want to understand humic acids, in order to start understanding them, we really need to first talk about humus and how humus is created. So in terms of humus, this is a term that describes a group of separate but distinct humic substances. And some of the most common humic substances, we collectively refer them to as humus. So it's basically a group of different molecules, let's call them. And these substances are broken down into different elements. So these are fulvic acids, humic acid, and humin. So all these three are part of the humus when humus is being created. So in very briefly, fulvic acids are soluble parts of the humus. They are soluble in water under all pH conditions and have very low molecular weight. Humic acids are of different structure and color, and they are only soluble at higher soil pH values and have a little bit greater molecular structure than folic acids. So all Humic products are pretty much non-soluble because they are processed in a natural way. So there is still some concentration of folic acids, but we keep the minimum of 5%. And then humin is a part of humus. It's basically a black humic substance that is completely non-soluble in water and any pH, and has a very high molecular weight, and is never found in base extracted liquid humic acid products, because you can find different variations of humic acid based products, but the difference is there are most of them are produced in a conventional way, and these are mostly extracts. You can find this out by reading the label, where you can see content of humic acid, which can be as low as 0.5%. So these are extracts, and this is not something that we would focus on. We basically focus on mechanical procedures, so we don't use any hydroxates, any chemicals, any fillers during the manufacturing procedure. So when understanding humic acids, always have humus in mind. So these are the three elements that make the humus complete. And now it's the funny part, how they actually work. So can you see the diagram?
Yep, I can.
So
Yeah.
that's the funny part. I was trying to find a way to explain it in the simplest way possible, and thanks to our scientists, we came up with this. So imagine humic acid as a bus. So it's an orange bus that you have in front of you. So these are humic acids, and the bus goes on the road. The red circle represents toxins, any heavy metals, pesticide residues, dioxins, PCBs. So when the bus goes on the road, there are certain bumps, but there are also gaps, right? So a gap is represented by different micro, macro, and trace elements that are chelated in humic acids. So when bus goes on the road, obviously it removes the bumps, so toxins are removed, so they go to the bus. And if there is any specific nutrient needed for either soil or animal body, that's basically coming down and filling the gaps. So this is pretty much the mechanics of humic acids. They are able to bind to different toxic substances, including heavy metals, pesticide residues, dioxin, PCBs. But at the same time, they are able to release nutrients based on the environment needs. So this could be soil, but this also could be an animal organism. So they are very self-regulating. And if a specific environment doesn't need a specific nutrient, it is simply not released. So it's a very, I would say, smart mechanism how humic acid works. And so that's the diagram. So if I go down, what I've explained now is going to change a little bit, right? So in the previous picture, you saw red and green circles. And basically the green circles were representing the gaps. The red circles were representing the toxins. So when humic acids are activated in the soil, their properties get enhanced. So all these bumps, as I was explaining, are going to be now, are now going to be removed, and humic acids will bind to them. And what's, I would say, amazing is that they are actually able to completely lock them. This applies to soil. They remove toxins and lock them. These toxins are actually staying in the soil but they are completely immobilized, and they are completely limited. Their activity on the soil level is completely limited. So it means that the toxins are not actually transferring from soil to plant, which, again, when we look at the animal, when animals graze on the grass and when humic acids are immobilizing those toxins, the toxins are not active in the soil. So they are not being transferred to the plant and not to animal body, right? So the bass now actually represents the behavior of humic acids and how they actually behave. So the toxins are locked, immobilized, and you see those green circles. These are different micro, macro, and trace elements. So as you can see, magnesium, selenium, copper, iodine, manganese, iron, and zinc. I just kind of put them there just to tell you that these nutrients were released by humic acids because, let's say, the soil, there was a gap, there was a nutritional gap. And this could apply either to soil or to animal organism. If there is a specific element or like trace element or micro macronutrient that is not needed at the specific time, it will simply not be used. And humic acids will simply not release it. So as you can see in the bus, as I'm pointing now on the calcium was not needed, like there was enough calcium in the soil, for example. It was simply not used nutrient. And same would apply for the copper. But at the same time, toxins, heavy metals, pesticide residues, herbicides, dioxins, and other types of, let's say, hazardous substances are completely locked. So this applies to soil. They are not active at all. They are staying there in the soil, according to our scientists, for about thousands of years. So it's actually great for everybody. We are pretty much keeping them there, but we are making them completely inactive. So is this picture clear, or do you have any questions around this picture?
That's good.
That's good.
Yeah, all good? Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the mechanics of humic acids and how they work in a simple way. Okay, so I actually kind of started this. So when it comes to toxins, so what is going to happen to toxins and heavy metals when we talk about soil? And what is going to happen to toxins and heavy metals and other, let's say mycotoxins when it comes to animals? So when we talk about the soil, I mentioned previously, these toxins will stay in the soil completely immobilized. They will be locked into very stable complexes that are pretty much non-soluble, and their activity will be completely limited. They won't be penetrating from soil to plant, and nutrients will be released based on the nutritional gaps. So this is going to happen on the soil level when we, let's say, spread humic acid-based solutions. In our situation, it's Humic Agro, which is a humic acid-based soil conditioner with minimum 62% of humic acids, mechanically processed raw material. When it comes to animals, the toxins are going to be excreted from the animal's organism, and nutrients will be self-regulated by animal's organism in order to fill in nutritional gaps. So again, if we go back to the bus, if there are some specific nutrients that are simply not needed, they simply won't be released. And that's basically how this is going to work on the animal level, right? Do you have any questions about this part?
No.
Okay, perfect. So we have covered the basic mechanics of humic acids and their basically behavior in the soil. We have explained what happens to toxins on the soil level as well as on the animal level. And now I want to focus on the benefits for the soil. If we basically recondition the soils, what's going to happen? So from our experience, we work with both organic farms as well as conventional farms. When we work with conventional farmers who are trying to reduce chemicals, we are trying to basically explain them that they pretty much can still be using chemical content because of the binding ability. But the purpose of reconditioning the soils is basically to slowly but surely unlearn the soil to not want as much chemical as it used to. So that's why we are talking about regenerative farming or biological farming. It's the regeneration that has to basically start slowly but surely. And when applying humic acid-based solutions to the soil, this is something that allows you to basically start the regeneration process. So reducing those chemicals slowly, year by year, by certain percentage. Generally speaking, when we apply Humic Agro on a specific field, each of our clients can decide to reduce NPK by up to 50% in the first year. They decide, every client is completely different, so they decide based on themselves. Some of them reduce it by 30% in the first year. Some of them decide to reduce it by up to 50% in the first year, then for another 10, 20% second year. So the purpose is really to recondition the soil and to unlearn the soil to not want as much chemical as it used to. It's like a detoxification process when people go through the detox, so they have to start slow. So their benefits, there are various benefits of humic acids. But the main, I would say, the core benefit is they significantly improve the soil structure and increase the porosity. And they also have ability to improve water and air regime of the soil. So what does it mean? Like from our experience, some soils can be very compact, let's put it this way. And some fields may have problem with bad infiltration. Like I have a specific client now in Port Leash who has a problem with water holding capacity. What it means, in the wintertime, his field gets completely flooded. And the problem is the wrong, water, like incorrect water management. And the soil is very compact. So if we apply humic there, we can actually improve the structure because we will create more pores. And what I mean by water regime is basically we create more pores in the soil, so the structure will improve over the time. And what humic acids are going to do on the soil level, they are actually going to create like a little cups in the soil. They will fill them with the water, so we'll basically bring the water further down. These cups will be created, and in case of a dry weather, plants will have sufficient water available. So it kind of works in a way that the fields are not dry and the water regime is fixed at the same time air. So there are more things. So that's water holding capacity and the structure. What is the next benefit is they significantly improve the nutrient management because they increase the soil absorption capacity. They also have the ability to optimize the pH. So generally speaking, they pretty much bring harmony to the soil. So they make sure that the pH is not too acidic, not too alkaline, even though they are called acids, but they are not acidic solutions. They are pretty much earth acids. They have ability to stimulate the root system by 30 to 50%, which is a huge thing when it comes to growing grass. In order to grow grass, I always say, it is pretty much very simple. Heal the root so the tree is stable. So if we are able to heal the root and start from the bottom, bottom up, we can see then changes on the external level. Because that's what I usually come across. People are trying to fix the external problems, but they forget about what's actually going on the inside. So rather than looking on the external problem, like there is a problem with the grass growth, there is a gap in the field. It's not, I need to treat the external factor. I need to start looking from the inside out. It's pretty much like a leaky gut. If we are looking into leaky guts, if the gut is leaky, it's simply not able to retain nutrients. So what we are doing with humic acids, we are fixing the leaky gut. And this applies to soil, to animals, even to humans. So nutrient management gets improved because if we refer back to the bus, the picture of the bus, again, humic substances have ability to unlock and release specific nutrients in the soil, and this applies to NPK and also other important micro, macro, and trace elements. So sometimes we have clients that they would have a problem with low manganese, and they think they need to put manganese into the soil, but this is not how it works usually. We can release certain elements, trace elements in the soil thanks to the specific property of humic acids, and it's the chelation. So humic acids are basically chelated materials, and they are readily available. And the soil, basically, as a living organism, decides if a specific nutrient is needed or not, if a specific nutrient has to be released or not. And again, this pretty much prevents the loss of nutrients from the soil, and at the same time create conditions for their access, by releasing them and unlocking them from the soil. So humic acids are very stable materials. They make sure that they will keep those nutrients and they will make them ready if needed. It's like when spreading traditional fertilizers, approximately 60% of nutrients are leached out from the soil. And the typical scenario is, it's always the same. Usually it's the humic acid deficiency. Humus is life, and without life, nothing grows. And basically, most of the clients that we have the same challenges. It's either the grass growth, it's either the nutrient management. And the problem is with conventional farming, and basically what happened during the conventional farming and like many years of conventional farming is that we were not able to give back what we've taken, and that's organic carbon. Because with conventional farming, we have not allowed enough time for humic substances basically create those humic complexes to encourage humus creation. That's what conventional farming has done in the past 20 years. And the traditional fertilizers, they pretty much don't solve the problem on the organic, they pretty much don't solve the problem with humus or like when it comes to humic acid deficiency. They just pretty much fix, like a specific problem, but they don't allow enough time for humus to be created. And that's why, most of the challenges that we see these days, it's pretty much humic acid deficiency and nutrient management. So if we go back to nutrient management, so they improve nutrient management, they're able to release specific nutrients, stimulate the root system, and at the same time encourage the development of beneficial microorganisms in the soil, which is a huge thing. we are pretty much waking up the native microbes and feeding them, giving them energy so they can thrive. And as I mentioned before, the nutrient content is very important. So humic acid-based products, especially Humic Agro, but this applies to also our feed supplements, contain approximately 80 naturally occurring macro trace elements and amino acids in a readily accessible form. We work with the raw material, which is a type of a brown coal, or if you want to call it a lignite. It's called leonardite. So leonardite is a very ancient organic matter that is situated between clay soils and has been humifying for many, many years. Its age is estimated about 35 millions of years. So that's the main source we work with. And the difference between humic acid, many people ask, what is the difference between humic acids and maybe charcoal? And the answer is very simple. Charcoal is pretty much an empty carbon and doesn't contain any macro trace elements, while brown coal or activated humic acids, they actually contain those important macro and trace elements. So that's the main difference when people come to us and when they ask. As I mentioned before, one of the, I would say, the most amazing ability is binding toxins, immobilizing them, toxins, heavy metals, and any other hazardous substances that we all know about, including herbicides and pesticides. This is something that I also mentioned before. By reconditioning the soils and kind of using biological materials like humic acid-based products, we help reduce chemical fertilizer by up to 50% in the first year of application. And why am I saying in the first year of application? It is because conditioners have different mechanics, especially like Humic Agro has completely different mechanics to what most people are used to. It's a solution that doesn't need annual application. It's a solution that needs single application and reapplication in about 3 years' time. Could be 4, but this is based on the consideration and based on the test. So because by using conditioners that are high in humic acid content, especially Humic Agro, we are actually supplying about 56% of organic carbon back to the soil. And Humic Agro has a specific solution. Humic Agro has maybe 10 times higher content than farmyard manure. So that's how powerful it is, because it's an ancient organic matter that has been humifying for over the years. So the content is higher than in farmyard manure. They can be combined with chemical fertilizers at a reduced rate. They can be combined with any other biological materials like farmyard manure. So the application depends on how the field is actually treated. If a field is treated with manure, we can go with lower application. If the field is not treated with any other biological materials, then we recommend the basic dosage. And obviously, the main purpose is to supply organic carbon back to the soil. So as I mentioned, 56%. When talking about mechanically processed Humic Agro, which has minimum of 62% of activated humic acid. And also, one of the most important factors is the yields are going up and also the nutritional value of the plants increases. I have also prepared like a, I don't know if I can play this video, probably I can't, but on this part, I have prepared like an example of a grassland application, which was done back in December in 2022. So this is a conventional client, and his challenges were with the grass growth. When we visited the field, there were empty patches in the field where grass wouldn't grow for years. The client was trying to resolve the issue, reseeded the field maybe 3 years ago, tried chemical manure, tried good quality manure, slurry, but he was just not able to find the answer and solve the issue. So when he contacted us, we came to the field and we had a consultation. We suggested a dosage of 80 kg per acre on that specific field, and I personally suggested a winter application. So that's maybe another point. Like obviously there is always ideal time like spring and autumn, but it is possible to apply Humic anytime throughout the year. So this was a specific application in December, because in other parts of the Europe, we actually do winter applications because we get a lot of snow. So yeah, so we pretty much improved the root system. We fixed the gaps. So the last time I visited the field was actually on Saturday last week, and yeah, the grass started to grow. And what I would like to maybe mention here is that this was a conventional client, and his decision was to pick certain fields and do them biologically. So he actually hasn't applied any chemical fertilizer at all after 20 years of doing conventional farming, because that's again based on the decision of the client. So nothing, just Humic. Nothing went on that specific field, just Humic. And you can see on the right-hand side, this is the size of a pellet. So it's a bit bigger than maybe traditional fertilizers. It's a material, which I mentioned before, raw material, which is called leonardite. So again, leonardite is an ancient humified organic matter which has the highest concentration of humic acids by up to 90%. Because humic acids overall, they can be found anywhere in very low concentrations. They also can be found in manure. They can be found in standing lakes, in water, but the concentration is very low. The highest concentration is in raw materials that are actually in certain locations. So not in every location, but there are certain locations in the world where you can get the material. So yeah, so this particular client applied 80 kg per acre, spread Humic on its own. But as I mentioned before, if we can combine Humic with a manure application, which then allows to go a bit down. And so instead of 80 kg per acre, 40 kg per acre is enough to be applied in combination with manure. We always recommend to put Humic first, because it takes some, it's still a biological material, so it takes some time to activate material. Many people ask like how long they can see the results. It really depends. This particular client, when we did the winter application, the first changes started happening in about January time, so let's say 8 weeks. But we have to still kind of understand that that's a natural material, and the main purpose is to improve the soil structure over time as we fix different processes on the internal level. So the results will come over time, and they will be still more and more impressive, I would say. So again, single application and reapplication in 3 years, 4 years is enough. Mostly with organic farms, 4 years is enough. So that's everything about the soil. Do we have any questions about the soil part?
I do, if you don't mind me asking. Well, how does it change? How does it help improve the pH of the soil?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, it optimizes the pH. So humic acid is not like acidic solution. So basically it makes sure that it's not too alkaline, it's not acidic. When we start doing applications, and let's say a client has a recommendation to apply a lime, we always say go with the lime application in the first year and then apply humac, because the purpose of humic acid is to improve the structure.
I see.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. Thank you.
I have a question, Ivana. So let's say you get your soil checked, right? And let's say it's very high in iron, and you then apply the humac. Will that then recognize that there's too much iron and then take that away as well?
Yeah, absolutely. It will simply not be released. It will be optimized. So as you saw the picture of a bath there, like if this nutrient is simply not needed, it won't be released, but it will be pretty much optimized, because I also had these questions in relation to animal husbandry, and yeah, it kind of behaves the same way.
Okay, yeah, thanks.
And what I would like to mention on that particular field, this was very mossy field, which moss is actually very good, but if there is too much moss, it's actually not good. So because we fixed the nutritional management, you can see on the before and after, you can see, like, it's very hard to see it maybe on the left hand side, but if you were there, it was very mossy field, it was very patchy field, but it's not mossy anymore because the nutrient management was fixed. Okay. So yeah, let me see, there are some questions. Okay, yeah, so Sheena has a question: do animals have to be kept off fields for a certain length of time and after applying humic acids? And the question is, no, they don't need to be, because these solutions are non-toxic to humans or animals. We always recommend, like, you can keep them away for a while because they may eat it, but eventually they will return it back. And if reseeding, overseeding, should humic acid be applied before or after? I always say it's always good to cultivate the land and to apply humic acid as closer to the roots as possible. But there's not really like a wrong way of doing it. But probably if the field is cultivated, then you can spread it. We sometimes spread it on the grown crops. It may take some longer time to activate the material, but we can pretty much spread it even on the grown crops would this make the soil too rich to wildflower meadows and gardens? Yeah, I would say by applying humic acids, what we are pretty much doing, we are bringing back life because humus is life. So in order to understand, like, humic acids, like, this is pretty much humus-based product, but has very high ratio humus. So yeah, there are gonna be some different species appearing on the field. And you can see sometimes I feel like being in the wonderland, because usually the size of the clover doubles. I don't have this picture. I should have put this picture now, but because you improve the root management, basically the flower or the plant is actually doubled in size. When I visited that particular client, like, he couldn't believe the size of a clover. And it was very visible because there were two fields next to each other, and one field was without humac application and the other one was with humac application. And if you were to compare those two clovers, like, you can see something happened there. Okay. Yeah, so absolutely safe for animals. You can keep them off for week 2. It takes some time for the pellets to break down when you get 1-2 rains, but no worries, like this is a material that is not processed chemically, so there are no additives, fillers, or anything. So they may eat it because it's organic carbon, but nothing is going to happen to them. Okay, and there is maybe one more question. Are there any environmental concerns or spreading, for example, like the wave volatilization when using other fertilizers, manures? No, not at all. Absolutely not. No concerns at all. Like this is non-toxic material. Actually, when you spread it with, let's say, when you put Humic Agro and you spread, let's say, slurry, basically humic acids, remember, they have this binding ability. They actually bind to anything that is toxic. And what I can be speaking of, like I can be speaking of an example in Cork, a client basically wanted to do slurry application. So he mixed Humic. I mean, Humic is non-soluble. I told him like this is a non-soluble solution, but he still wanted to prepare slurry with Humic. And he did, I think he did the application back in January 2023. And after some time, he called me and he told me that, Ivana, I have to tell you this. I have never seen this in my life. And I said, what do you mean? Like, I usually have a lot of seagulls on my field every time I spread slurry. But do you know what happened? And I said, no, because I didn't really understand what he's trying to tell me. And he said, since I spread it with Humic, there was no seagull at all. And I said, I now know what you're talking about. And I've asked him, like, do you know why? And he said, no, because we made your slurry less acidic. So basically, the worms stayed where they were supposed to stay, where they were supposed to stay. So, you know, if the environment, if the soil is very acidic, you know, the worms go up and then the seagulls will eat them. But because, you know, we pretty much detoxified and kind of made slurry less acidic, like all the microorganisms stayed in the ground. So that was like one of the observations. So they are able to actually bind. And actually they are able to bind to nitrogen as well. Yeah, perfect. So are there any other questions in relation to soil, or do you want me to move to animal part? Okay, if there are any questions, just feel free to put them in the chat and I will do my best to answer them in the meantime. So
there was another question. Sorry, there was another question, and I think it's interesting. Does it help with reducing weeds, or would you need to get rid of weeds first, then the Humic?
Yeah, so basically what we need to understand, like it is a biological solution that kind of brings harmony back. So this may reduce it. I mean, like I can see it, like I can see it when it comes to the field that I visited. Like it's everything is nicely in balance. So I would say there could be some reduction, but it's not something that we would be able to probably get rid of, you know, completely. So when pretty much talking about humic acids, we are talking about bringing life back and creating the harmony, basically fixing the processes. So, but if there is something too much, it's definitely going to be less, or it's going to be optimized. This is how they work. It's all about optimization. So kind of making these nice balance. So for example, they can be also used, maybe that's a little bit off topic, but humic acids are also very important in composting procedure. And they actually make sure when the compost is being created, they actually keep the carbon nitrogen ratio in balance. So they pretty much balance everything. Okay. Yeah. Noel says, happy earthworms, not so happy seagulls. Yeah. That's what happens. I'm sorry. Okay. So if we move away from soil a little bit, if we look into the humans, because animals, animals are also a very important part when it comes to humic acids, and there have been many trials still ongoing, research. There is about 30 publications on humic that have been done together with our research institutions, veterinary institutions. So they're like universe. There is always something more to explore, and we are always finding more and more benefits to animals. And Sharon, probably you also know, you've been working with humic acid based products, and also some of our other holistic vets. They, especially those ones who know them, they find a lot of benefits when kind of using them in animals as a supplement. So similarly, like in soil, when we use humic acid based products as a supplement and supplement animals, they actually again help heal the gut. And so that's the first thing, healing the gut, bringing the harmony. At the same time, they enable animals a daily detox from toxins, heavy metals, and they help stabilize the pH in the digestive tract. Because again, when there is a conventional farm that spreads chemical fertilizers, those fertilizers, they're, they basically they spread fertilizers, and again, like these solutions are toxic to soil, but also to animals. These toxins are pretty much being transferred to animal bodies when they graze on the grass, which was treated by chemical fertilizer. And again, this can create different challenges. So humic acids in a supplement way are a viable solution to actually bind to these toxins and excrete them from the animal body. So generally speaking, they are very beneficial for like general well-being and help fight against numerous health problems. So in very simple terms, these are very simple solutions that can tackle multiple challenges. But the main, I would say, the core is the gut, is to help stabilize the gut system, because it's same like with humans. If humans, if the gut, or the microbiome, like the pH is too acidic, like, we are getting sick pretty much. So again, humic acids, they optimize everything. They make sure that everything is in harmony. So they improve immunity. They work extremely well in stress conditions, because we do have clients who have racing animals. So we have a specific client who, I don't know what is the actual name, but it's she's the only one doing it in Ireland. It's I can't think of the name, but it's basically racing with a dog, like a racing dogs, but not greyhounds, but it's a specific discipline where a person can be on a bike or a motorbike and is led by the dog. Oh, actually, yeah, I have this term now. It's called canine cross. So the canine cross is a specific discipline where you pretty much run with the dog, but the dog leads you. So we have this specific a client who travels a lot, to different countries for different competitions. And obviously these animals, they also feel stress. It's like when when you humans feel stress. And she always puts the dogs on humic acids because it actually helps in case of any health problems or stressful situations when the animals are traveling from one country to the other. And obviously there is different environment, same like with humans when we go on holiday, different air, different water. So sometimes we may get some upset stomach, let's put it this way. So yeah, I actually mentioned that already. So they help with digestive disorders, diarrhea, And most importantly, they supplement different micro, macro, and trace elements. Again, these are self-regulated by an animal. So if animal doesn't need a specific trace element, it will simply not be given to them. So again, we refer back to the bus. That's how they work in the animal body. But the difference is the toxins will be excreted. So they won't be staying in the animal body, they will be excreted. So what we have seen and what we see and is improved feed conversion, because when we supplement an animal diet with humic acids, we actually improve feed conversion. So that's what we have been seeing in the past years in our research, because basically they go well together with any type of feed or any other supplements. Their main purpose is really to chelate and basically make the nutrients readily available. And this applies for specific feed or supplement. So they can be combined with seaweed. They can be combined even like with other remedies. Like I was talking to Hanka, our naturopathic vet. So like they work very well in combination with seaweed, mushrooms, any other remedies. The main purpose is to optimize the processes, stabilize the pH, and help heal the gut. And I have a question here. You said earlier that it isn't water soluble, but just wondering if it could be added to water. Yeah, there are non-soluble. We have a specific liquid type product, which is like a paste. So it's not like liquidy like water, but we found a way to mechanically process them without using any chemicals or additives. So as you can see on this picture, so that's the liquid type, which can be added to water or to milk. So most of our clients, like 80% of our clients are dairy clients, and they mostly use liquid for young calves directly after they are born, because it's a great nutritional boost for them. And these can be added to water or milk, no problem, but it's not like very liquidy. It's like a paste type, but still can be added to water. And we also have some vets who've been using powder in a syringe because they didn't know that it's I cannot really say it's pure liquid, because it's not pure liquid, it's really like paste. So yeah, so I was talking about the improved feed conversion by up to 7%. And most importantly, when we talk about food producing animals, the quality of the end product is much, much better. So when talking about milk, higher protein, higher casein. When we talk about eggs, when we talk about meat, all the nutrition that is supposed to be in the end product is actually there, and that's what humic acids can do. And I think this is a huge one. When it comes to supplementation, what is going to happen? So when we supplement animals with humic acids, we are actually also adding value to a farm manure. And what do I mean by that? So when humic acids go through the digestive tract, they only go through digestive tract. They are excreted, right? So about 10% is from the nutritional value that's in the humic acid based product is used, by an animal to fill in any nutritional gaps, and about 90% of them are excreted and they end up in the manure. So that's how we kind of bring the value to manure. So it's a solution that can be actually pretty much recycled into a natural fertilizer. So that's the big thing. That's the big thing, because basically once they end up in the manure, they have a specific ability to avoid nitrogen volatilization or leaching, which again results in farmyard manure being more stable because of their specific properties they have. So that's pretty much like a general overview when it comes to humic acids and their benefits for animals. Do you have any question on that part? Yeah, so I just wanted to kind of cover both areas because they're, you know, they all go hand in hand together. It's all connected. All the solutions are pretty much connected, and they are important to mention. So what I would mention as the last part for you guys is it is important to understand there are humic acid-based solutions out there, but what people are mainly or mostly confused about is, you know, they come across different solutions and sometimes they feel like it's not working for them. And the reason it's not working for them because there is a conventional way and there is a non-conventional way of how you can actually process a raw material. And unfortunately, 90% it is a conventional way. And these humic acid-based products are pretty much so-called humates or humic salts, if you want to call them. And these are chemically processed humic acids. And I put a little picture there. That's the molecular structure of humates. So if you look at Humic, you can see a huge difference. And the reason you can see the huge difference because it's a different procedure. So when you use chemicals, and when you process a raw material with chemicals, you completely change the molecular structure. And that's basically the conventional form in the preparation of humic acids by using potassium hydroxide or sodium hydroxide. What probably can help you to differentiate or kind of find, you know, it's basically read the labels. And when you check the labels, the technical parameters will tell you everything, because when it comes to humates, their humic acid-based content can be as low as 0.5%. When it comes to Humic, it's different. So as I said, we don't use any additives, fillers, or chemicals throughout the manufacturing process. So it's a mechanical procedure as nature intended, no additives. And we keep very high ratio of humic acid content. So when it comes to soil conditioners, it's minimum 62%. When it comes to humic acid content, and when it comes to feed supplements, it's minimum 65%. And yeah, we kind of follow, we kind of have these different, you know, certificates. So it's strictly controlled and kosher approved. So for growing kosher crops, but also when it comes to the feed supplements, they have a kosher certification, which pretty much explains the purity of the material and how it is processed. And I'm just going to go back to questions. Is it fed a short course or long term? So to be honest with you, you know, there is no risk of overdose and there is no withdrawal on the product. It is up to you. Some animals may have very weak immunity and they may stay on a little dose for a certain period of time, or sometimes they may use it every day. I can be speaking of my own experience because I was part of the human research and I had a specific problem and I was on a very high dose for about 3 months, and I still use humic acid-based products. I've been using them for about 9 years. And now I simply use them as my body tells me. If I need it, I take it. If I don't need it, I don't. I basically fixed a certain problem that I had. It was a skin problem. And now I pretty much regularly take it, sometimes like 1 capsule a day. Sometimes I forget, I don't take it at all. Okay, so another question from Clara is, if I'm supplementing my horses with minerals, would I stop and just give just Humic? So it really depends what minerals you are supplementing. So Sharon or me, it doesn't matter, can send you the list of micro, macro, and trace elements that are in the Humic. And if you see that there is enough, you know, I mean, you can combine it together. You know, if animal decides that it simply doesn't need it, it will be simply not given to it. But Humic has 70 to 80 micro, macro trace elements that are naturally occurring in the raw material. So sometimes, yeah, you don't need to do pretty much the double job. But for example, I can also be speaking of my own experience in the winter time. I take humic acid-based products pretty much. Yeah, now I take it. I try to take it every day, every second day, sometimes once a week. It really depends how my body tells me. If I need it, I simply take it. If I feel like my immunity is a bit lower, I just take it. But what I know, in the wintertime, I add extra vitamin D because, you know, in Ireland, we don't get much sunshine. So I will always combine humic acids with either omega fatty 3 acids, vitamin D, sometimes vitamin C. So can be also, you know, you can also add different. Nothing is gonna happen. Whatever you take alongside with Humic, it will just improve the properties of a specific supplement or herb. I can be speaking of seaweed. So we have a company now which makes seaweed for dogs mainly. And they are now having a product in a development where they will be combining with Humic with seaweed, because it will just make the seaweed more effective. You know, the main purpose is to make those nutrients available. I would say a very simple example is like same like with humans, right? You know, I can be taking vitamin C, but if I don't have enough vitamin D in my body, it's simply waste of the money. You know, it will be simply released. So that's the similar logic. Like humic acids are pretty much, how would I call it? Like they're like a buffering agent. You know, they release, they bind to toxic substances, but at the same time they release specific nutrients based on the needs of a specific organism. Okay, and then we have. Okay, could you please briefly touch on the difference between humic and fulvic acid, please? Yes, I can go back. Okay, no problem. Ellen has to go. No problem. Thank you. Okay, so I'll go back to humic and fulvic acids. So that's the bus. And can you see it, guys? Do you want me to make it bigger, or is it okay?
It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so fulvic acids, they are soluble. So for example, you can have variations on the product. Some product may have maybe higher content of fulvic acids. They may be a little bit more soluble. You know, because we do mechanical procedure, you know, you can't really separate humic and fulvic acids. They basically are parts of the natural material. So we don't change the structure, as I mentioned. So it's usually 5% of fulvic acid in all of the products. I was actually talking on that matter with one of our vets who is based in Enniscorthy. He was trialing humic acid-based product before, and he told me, like, Ivana, like humic is not very soluble. And I said, yeah, because there is only 5% of fulvic acid, which is a soluble part. And that's the reason why, because we simply don't change the structure. We don't add anything. That's why these are pretty much together. So yeah, they are soluble under all pH conditions and have low molecular weight, and humic acids are pretty much only soluble at the higher salt pH values. So that's actually by using hydroxates. this is how you can dissolve them, which we simply don't do. Okay. Okay. Clara is asking like, where can you get it? So yeah, you know, Sharon is there, so she can advise you. She has access to all the products in relation to animals as well as the soil. And I also wanted to mention that because you joined today, guys, you have an option to apply 10% discount on pallet orders when it comes to soil conditioners. So if you are interested, you can simply touch base with Sharon, and those clients who know me, they can touch with me, no problem, and we can take it from there. Okay, thanks, good to know, perfect. So humic and fulvic acids, I mean, I'm sure we can send these, I can send this presentation to you so you can go through this in your own time, because I know it's a lot of information. It's not easy to digest it all, but I think it's okay if I send the presentation. What do you think, Sharon? So
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
yeah, I think it's good to kind of listen and watch at the same time, especially the diagram. I mean, it looks a little bit busy, but when you look at it, it is, you know, it's not that difficult. Okay, and so we pretty much covered, yeah, this was the last part I wanted to cover. And yeah, so if you have any other questions, just feel free to ask. Thank you for the information. Yes, absolutely. I will share the actually have shared the presentation with Sharon, so feel free. Sharon can send it to you, and I will put the recording together, and I will probably share it on OneDrive and just send the link so you can have access to this and again listen to it in your own time, and also have presentation in front of you. So it's always good to kind of have a little revision, because I know it's a lot to cover, but I really tried my best to put it in the simplest way possible. They are very complex. But yeah, they're very complex, but at the same time very simple. Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, so if you want to have a consultation in regards to field or soil management, no problem. You know, we can do it, you know, absolutely no problem. We also go to farms. We do farm visits. And yeah, I mean, it could be, you know, if you know Sharon, like Sharon can do it, I can do the consultation for Sharon, no problem. You know, because every client is different. You know, we have a combination of grassland application, tillage crops, gardeners, you know, golf pitches. We have landscaping companies who are working with Humic. So yeah, every client is different, but the purpose is the same: bring life back to the soil and immobilize those toxins. Because that's the main mission why we are here, to help recover the food chain. And in order to recover the food chain, we have to start with the soil, so we can, you know, grow healthier crops and yeah, eventually help animals as well as humans. So there are going to be less challenges when it comes to the health. Okay, do you have any questions, Sharon? Or
No, I don't. No, I'd like to thank you. It was really interesting, and also thank you for the 10% discount. And yeah, if you could just send me the recording, then I'll send the presentation and the recording to everyone. So yeah.
yeah. So what I would say when it comes to field consultations, like there are some things that we need to know, and it's usually like the size of the field and how the field is treated. If you have any soil tests, no problem. and you can send it to us. I can discuss with our agronomist. But there is a certain dosage that has been recommended by our agronomy institutions, and it's usually between 80 to 200 kg of Humic per acre. But 200 kg is very, very dramatic scenarios. This is in situations when we do remediation projects, because we also do remediation projects. One of the projects that we did was in a specific area with chemical factories, where people were getting like a very high ratio of cancer and different diseases. So it was very contaminated area where we actually applied Humic and immobilized PCBs. PCBs are like a specific types of toxic substances. So basically that was one of the projects that was done in Central Europe, and we were able to grow grass in 1 month. So quite impressive how it can work. So we do remediations projects too. So, but generally speaking, grass on applications are between 40 kg to 80 kg per acre. But obviously, it's all based on the consultation.
Okay, well, I don't know if anyone has any other questions. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I guess if anyone wants a consultation, they can contact you or me.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, there are just some things that we need to know. What I would say, and the way the way we work with clients, we pretty much work with clients field by field. There are some clients who know the solution, so they go pretty much full on. But what we usually do is, like, we always take like 10 acres, 20, 60, 50 acres, and we kind of do one field per year. So I have a client now, we are going to do now his fourth field. It's a conventional tillage farmer. So we are helping them to reduce the chemical content, and we always do different crop. Then we have another clients, and we always kind of go a bit, kind of slowly, it's the regeneration that we focus. So take 10 acres this year, watch the field, 10 another 20 acres next year. So that's a typical scenario that our clients go with, which is, I would say, understandable, because people want to see the differences, they want to understand it a little bit better. And once they see the differences, they pretty much continue, because that's the healthier way, it's a biological way, and it works. There is nothing to say. I mean, we've been in this industry since 2004. Humic has been available to Irish region only since 2021. So there is a lot that we can share, a lot of knowledge and trials and research and ongoing research all the time. Okay. So if there are no other questions, thank you very much for listening to me. I hope I was able to make it simple. And if you have any questions, we can still talk to Sharon, and I'm happy to help Sharon with consultations, no problem at all. I'm glad you made the time, and you can still contact me or Sharon, and you can also find us on social media. I try to post a lot of educational content in combination with customer scenarios. So you can find Humic supplements on Instagram, Facebook. We mostly have educational videos on YouTube, our YouTube channel, with different experts. And we also do TikTok, but very, very short videos on TikTok. So that's everything from my side. So thank you very much for your time, and I hope you enjoyed it and you learned something new today about humic acids.
Thank you, Ivana.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Have a lovely rest of the evening.
You too.